My wife is addicted to the gym and it's ruining our marriage. My wife is 30 years old and she's always worked out and been in shape, but lately I feel like it's becoming excessive. She used to regularly work out at a gym when she was in college. At some point she stopped going to the gym, I think lately just due to her schedule, and preferred to work out at home or go for runs outside. About 18 months ago she announced she was going to get back into the habit of going to the gym. She now had a job where she's able to make more time for it. It started off normal but slowly became more and more frequent. She signed up for classes on the weekend, both days. She started going to the gym every day, then it became the morning before work and then again later in the evening. Every single day. If she's stressed she goes to the gym. Experienced some sort of life crisis. She immediately heads to the gym. We have an argument, runs to the gym. She's 4 months pregnant right now. I'm kind of surprised we even had time to make a kid. I understand that it's safe for her to work out, especially since she was already in the habit of doing it before she got pregnant, but the intensity is not slowing down. If she misses one of her normal gym sessions she becomes so irritable, like a junkie not getting her fix. It's just bizarre. Truly a case of too much of a good thing. Of course she gets upset when I voice that I feel it's becoming an unhealthy obsession and that I miss spending time with her because she's there so much. She has all of these friends and this whole circle of people there that she seems to prefer spending time with over me. Why don't we work out together at the gym? The gym is her time, she says. This isn't a case of me feeling insecure because she's in great physical shape and I'm a fat slob. I work out and am in shape, my job really requires me to stay in shape, so I can't let myself go if I want to. I genuinely feel her gym habits are unhealthy. She's over-exercising for one. There is such a thing. But worse than that, I feel it's becoming a way for her to escape everything else in her life. She never actually fixed anything that goes wrong in her life. She just runs off to the gym to get some sort of mood boost and then that's it. She also never gets anything else done in a practical sense because how can she when she's at the gym so often? It's to the point where I have to do every chore and if food is getting made I'm going to have to do it. I don't expect her to do all of those things, but it should at least be a shared effort. People we know have even commented about it to me. They've said things about how she seems different, how she sure is at the gym a lot, and many of her friends and family barely see her anymore. Some have even suggested she's having an affair with somebody there. Please tell me that this doesn't sound normal to you. She insists this is perfectly normal. Update 1. I posted not very long ago about my wife's addiction to the gym. A compulsion, if you will. She spends most of her free time there. She often goes twice a day, and sometimes even 3 times if we have a fight at night and she needs to run off instead of actually talking to me. She won't let me go to her gym and she refuses to go to mine. Her gym is her place, my gym is my place, and that's just the way it has to be according to her. I'd love to have her come along with me. I've invited her multiple times. She's about 18 weeks pregnant right now. This is our first baby. She worked out like crazy prior to the pregnancy and she continues to just as hard now. I truly didn't think she was cheating on me. People suggested it in the last thread and I laughed. You can tell she's at the gym a lot, she's in great shape. So she's obviously going there. I felt really confident about the cheating issue and when I posted 9 days ago I wasn't even considering cheating. I'm embarrassed to admit that after reading a lot of the comments on my last post, I thought maybe I was being overly confident about her fidelity. She usually always has her phone on her, but she left it in the kitchen counter and as stupid as I felt, I decided to do a quick swipe through her texts. She had a current text conversation going on with a guy. I recognized the name. The same name of a guy from the gym she mentions a lot. She's friends with a lot of people there, went to one of their weddings last fall. I wasn't too terribly concerned until I started reading the texts. Never wanted to know what the guy's dick looked like, but I know now. She was only out of the room for literally about a minute or two, so I had to scroll fast. I was furious. I asked her what the fuck that conversation was about. She started yelling at me for looking at her phone. I told her she's acting so weird and the gym obsession was really bothering me, so I just decided to look, and was ashamed that I did, but that's I thought I'd find nothing all. She said it's nothing. It's nothing. Didn't look like nothing to me. She sure seemed pretty interested in this nothing. I wanted to know if she's been fucking him. For how long? She kept saying no. I left the house because I was so furious, but not before I slammed her phone on the ground and shattered it. She was calling me all sorts of names for breaking her phone. She hit me on the back as hard as she could. I left. Went to my brother's house. My brother and sister-in-law were shocked, although my sister-in-law was one of the most vocal ones about my wife's gym obsession being weird and bringing it up to me constantly. I went home. She was in bed crying. She obviously couldn't call me or anyone else for that matter. She was laying it on thick. I don't know if you'd ever come home. Give me a break. I took her phone to get repaired tonight. She doesn't deserve it, but I still feel like an ass breaking her phone. I still don't know how deep it goes. She won't admit to anything beyond what I saw? Was it sexting bad enough or more? I'm convinced it was a lot more, but she refuses to hand over her phone and is now trying to act like I'm this terrible monster who is abusing her because I broke her phone. Not my proudest moment, but I honestly wanted to body slam her after she punched me. I have never and would never actually touch her like that. Update 2. Not sure if posting something in my profile will be seen by anyone, but I don't feel like making another update in a subreddit. Today my wife asked me to stay home from work so we could talk. She laid in bed all day yesterday trying to get me to feel sorry for her, but I paid absolutely no attention to her and ended up leaving the house to go to my family's Super Bowl party. I wasn't in the mood to go, but I wasn't going to sit at home with her. It really bothered her that I left. She kept texting me things like, "Who just leaves like that?" When something like this is happening, who is that cold and callous that they just leave to go to a party? I stayed home today to talk to her. She was full of tears. She's so sorry. According to her, she really was going to the gym twice a day because she likes going there, that's where her friends are, makes her feel good, it's fun for her. She met this guy there and he started flirting with her. Everyone likes him. He's one of the most popular guys there. I didn't realize there were popular people at gyms. She admitted that she flirted back but didn't mean anything by it. She didn't reciprocate very much at first, but he gave her butterflies, and she just found herself flirting back without thinking. She said it felt like when she had a crush on somebody when she was in school when she was younger. They started texting. At first it was just friendly and nothing sexual for several months, but she'd feel giddy every time she got a message from him. She was really attracted to him, but told him that she was married and there could never actually be anything between them. According to her, he kept flirting with her anyway and said, "Sure, we won't cross the line." Until they did cross the line. She said she had tried to resist it for a while, but then one day they kissed. She admitted to enjoying it but also feeling that it was wrong. She must not have felt that bad because she slept with him for the first time later that night. She described it like falling in love with somebody for the first time. All she could think about him. Is she in love with him? She doesn't know. Is this baby mine? She thinks so, but there's always a small chance it could be his. He always uses a condom, so she doesn't think it's his baby, but they were sleeping together at the time she got pregnant. She loves me. She can't help that there's just this huge spark between the two of them. She doesn't know if she loves him. She doesn't know if the baby is mine. She doesn't know why she did this. She doesn't know what she thinks we should do. The nail in the coffin is when she said, "You would really leave me if it's not your baby, would you?" She had the balls to ask me that. I told her of course I'm leaving her and I wouldn't raise another man's child. She seemed shocked. She said, "Really? With everything we have in all our history, you wouldn't even consider it?" She can't be serious. I told her no, I would never consider it. She agreed to get a DNA test. She tearfully agreed, like I'm supposed to feel sorry for her about it? I don't know who this woman is. She was crying the whole time, but not tears of an ashamed or sorry person. They were tears for herself and meant to try to make me feel bad. Feel bad for what? That her heart is apparently so torn? Relevant comments / additional info. She's ruined my life, but I just feel numb right now. I barely feel anything at the moment. It would have been bad enough for her to have an affair and cheat on me. But she couldn't have stopped when she found out she was pregnant? At least I could have walked away if it wasn't for this pregnancy. Maybe I still can, but I won't know for sure until I get some test results. She's almost positive the baby is mine. I'm stuck dealing with her forever then. My child will grow up with divorced parents. Their mom will be the gym bike. Maybe she'll even take off to live near her family and take my kid with her. Oh, but then she couldn't be near the guy who gives her butterflies and fucks her in gym changing rooms. The thrill, the excitement, how can I even blame her? She's ruined fatherhood for me, whether this is my kid or not. If by some chance this isn't my baby and I'm able to completely break free, how will I not think of this one day when I start a family? I was so fucking happy to have this baby with her. I was really excited, even though we hadn't planned for it right now. We have names picked out. I've been there for everything and now she does this to me. Not only me, but this poor kid regardless of who their father is. She's saying I'll never go back to the gym again. I'll never talk to him again. But she can't say whether she's in love with him or not. What kind of idiot does she think I am? Commenter, she still thinks there is hope to save your relationship? Jesus Christ. Yeah, I believe she still thinks there's a chance I'll agree to raise another man's child with her. She doesn't take me seriously when I say there's no way I'd do that. She is dependent on me. She probably wouldn't leave me if I knocked somebody else up and wanted her to play mommy. I know that sounds terrible and it's nothing I'd ever do, but I feel like she'd be mad and she'd go screw somebody else to get back at me, but she probably would be too scared to actually leave me. I don't feel the same way about leaving her. I'm sad to leave her. I don't want this to be our reality. I can't even say that I completely hate her yet. But I won't raise another man's child. If she feels so strongly about that guy and he's so wonderful, go get together with him then and leave everyone else alone. She was practically on her knees yesterday saying I won't go back to the gym. I won't ever contact him again. I feel like that doesn't really mesh with the fact that she doesn't even know if she's in love with him or not. She obviously still has very strong feelings for him, which are probably coming more from between her legs than her actual heart, but doesn't really matter either way to me. I think despite anything to do with him, she's dependent on me in a way. For stability maybe. Just out of comfort maybe. We've been together since she was 20 years old, so I'm just this familiar person I guess. She has her gym friends out here, but other than that she has no family or friends out here. She makes pretty good money, but I make more and all of our benefits are through me. Even with her good salary, it would be difficult to survive on her own as a single mom here with all of the daily living expenses, or at least live anywhere near the level she wants to live at. Today is the day she was crying all night about how she's ruined her life. She seemed genuine, like reality is hitting her, but I didn't pay any attention to her at all. I just pretended she wasn't there. I did ask her if she'll get blood drawn for a paternity test. I asked her to please not hurt me further by keeping me in limbo about that for months. She said she doesn't want to. Op on if he got a lawyer and if he ever met the AP. I'm meeting with a lawyer next week and we'll see what they advise. How can she parade me around when I've never been allowed to go to her gym? I've met two of the people, a slightly older married couple. Yes, I met the AP. Last summer he called her because he was drunk at a bar and couldn't drive home, so he called her to come get him. I didn't think it was a good idea for her to go pick somebody up late at night, so I went with her. I want her out of the house, but I don't necessarily want her to fly back home to where she's from just yet. If this is my kid and she gives birth out here, I'll be in a much better position. If she leaves and goes home to her parents, she could very well be allowed to stay there, and that would be considered the baby's place of residence. She missed a few days of work, but she has gone to work since all of this happened. She was having a meltdown this morning and I left for work. She told me had to go in late today, and when she got there everybody was making her food and tea and stuff. She obviously didn't tell them what really happened. Up on how long the affair was happening, she claims they've been sleeping together since the summer. That's just what she claims, of course. Update 3, my life has been reduced to a trashy daytime talk show. The woman who was once my wife, who I considered a classy woman, has turned into complete trailer trash. Today she announced that she's moving in with her affair partner from the gym. She's pregnant, might be his kid, might be mine. She's too embarrassed to go get blood drawn for a paternity test. She spent about a week trying to get my attention, to get me to talk to her, to get me to beg her to be mine. I didn't fall for any of it. I've largely been ignoring her, and when we have to speak I keep it very brief. We've been living together this whole time, but I'm in a different room now and functioning separate from her in all ways. So, her pouting and trying to get me to pay attention to her and give her a gold star for not going to the gym for 5 days in a row didn't work. Today she texted me to say she is moving in with him. Somehow I still care about this person. I've already met with a lawyer though. I can care about her as a human being and possible mother of my child without being married to her. Still, it stung to hear her say she was going to be with him. I told her it wasn't a smart move to leave the house. I've even told her she should probably meet with a lawyer. She doesn't care about anything I have to say. I don't think she needs to move in with anybody. I actually feel bad for her that she can't just be on her own. I asked her if he actually knew she was pregnant and wanted to know what story she's been telling him this whole time. She said he knows and he doesn't care if it's my baby, he loves her and wants to be with her. Bizarre. You can't find anyone else? Somebody who isn't a married, pregnant woman? Why would you take that on? Doesn't make sense to me. He's scum, but he's good-looking scum who apparently is gainfully employed and owns his own home, so you can't tell me that my married, pregnant wife is your only option here. I just can't imagine being a single guy like that and wanting to put up with this baggage when I could have other options. And if this really is my baby, then what? They'll live with my wife and this weasel 50% of the time? I don't know how my life turned into this mess. And she thinks it's embarrassing to have to go get blood drawn? Update 4. My wife moved in with her AP last weekend. She didn't take very much at all. Most of her stuff is still in our house. I still get the feeling she was just waiting for me to beg her to come home, but I didn't reach out to her at all after she left. It was a strange mixture of relief, anger, and sadness. I don't think I ate at all until last night. Just never felt hungry. Drank a little too much. But I'm fine. I'm posting this update because I've received a ton of messages from people, and honestly it's emotionally draining to respond to each one and to have to type the same stuff out. I just don't feel like talking about her that much. So this morning she texted me to say her AP wants to get a DNA test done, so she's going to do it. Look at that, didn't matter when I wanted one, but now that he has requested it she suddenly thinks it's a great idea. She asked if I wanted to submit a sample because it'll be cheaper to have 2 dads tested as part of one package. I don't even care about the cost at this point, I just want an answer. I don't have to see or interact with them at all. I just have to make my own appointment with the lab to get my cheeks swabbed. So this Saturday I'm going to do that and we should have the results within a week. I'll take what I can get at this point because it's better than her dragging this out for another 20 weeks. So that's it. I'm fine. I'm going to work every day. Trying to function. Just feel stuck in limbo. I miss her. Honestly, I hate that she's there with him. It makes me sick. Part of me does want to beg her to come home. It'll be even worse if I find out that it's my baby and she's there with him. Unless he drops her at that news. I won't let myself beg her. I won't play any of those games with her. Update 5. My wife has been having an affair with a guy she met at the gym for at least nearly a year. She's around 22 weeks pregnant right now. She was somewhere around 17 weeks when I discovered she was cheating. She maintained that she was positive I was the father, but then refused to get a paternity test done to ease my mind. We recently had a paternity test done, at the request of her affair partner, and it proves the baby is mine. It's been very mixed emotions for me, very up and down. Originally, I thought I just wanted to be completely done with her and not have any lifelong ties in the form of a full-blown human being we shared, but I was sort of happy or relieved when I got the results. I'd already had it in my mind that I was going to be a father for months before I found out she was cheating. Sometimes I just have moments where I can't believe this is my life, that this is the situation that my kid will be born into, and I hate her for it. She's still living with him. All of her belongings are still here in our house. I refuse to do the work of packing everything up for her. She doesn't seem concerned about taking any of her things, beyond the essentials. After we got the news that I'm the baby's father, she texted me to say she's glad I'm the father and that she knows I'll be a great dad. She was texting me new baby name ideas last night. She's tried calling, but I ignore the calls. I only speak with her via text. This morning she asked if she could come by and get a few things. I told her it was fine, as I've been advised by my lawyer to not prevent her entry from the home, but I told her that he better not be with her. So who shows up with her? The scumbag boyfriend. He walks right on into the house behind her like it's no big deal. She ran upstairs to get the stuff she wanted, and he and I were just left standing there in the living room. He told me it wasn't her fault that he was there. She told him I didn't want to come, but he forced his way along. He wanted to talk to me, supposedly, to tell me he'd understand how I must be feeling. No, you don't know. He told me he knows I probably don't believe him, but he genuinely loves her and knew he probably wasn't the father. He accepts it and then tried to assure me he won't try to take my place with the baby and hopes we can just get along since we're both going to be in her life now. He promises that she's fine, he's looking after her. I told him that I couldn't for the life of me imagine what he wanted with a pregnant woman who is having another man's child, that I found it weird. Then I told him if he didn't get out of my house I'd punch him. I went upstairs and she was trying to find somebody things in the bathroom. I got mad, asked her why she brought him along, and told her I find it really strange that he still wants to be with her now that he knows he has nothing to do with this baby, and that I refuse to let him have anything to do with my child. She said he talked her into coming and she's sorry and never meant for any of this to happen, but she's in love with him now. He is supposedly what 30-year-old her is looking for, not me. She's setting up a nursery in his house and I can set one up at my house, and she has no intention of trying to get full custody or anything like that. She doesn't want to keep me from being involved in my child's life. How generous of her. She went back downstairs and I followed her, and he was still standing there in the living room, and I just walked up to him and punched him. He stumped back and fell into a table. She yelled "What the fuck?" and ran over to him. I don't even care at this point. As if he's going to call the cops? He deserved it, and it wouldn't have happened had he just left like I told him to. Several hours later she texted me to say she was sorry about today. He really meant what he said, and he's actually a good guy, and he cares about her, and he respects me. WTF? He respects me? He was screwing my wife in the gym locker room. I was like, you can't be serious. She said fine. I'm trying to have a mature conversation about this. I can't help that we fell in love. Believe it or not, I'm not trying to hurt you, and I want everything to be amicable. This guy stole my wife and he's stealing my kid too. Sure, I'm the actual father, but now they're setting up a nursery together in his house? I've tried to not feel jealous or sad. I've tried to maintain the thought that he's the trash man who picked up my garbage. Sometimes I feel that way, but the truth is that I loved her and still love her. I don't want to stay married to her on principle alone, but this is devastating to me. Update 6. My wife is basically 26 weeks pregnant now. There actually hasn't been much drama with her and her AP. I was away for a long weekend last week, and it was nice to just get away from home for a while. Only really annoying thing that's happened is that I told her I'm being in the delivery room, not him. After everything she's done, she owes me that. It's not his baby. He has no right or reason to be there. I will not be the one waiting outside when my kid is being born. She said yes, she agreed, and she never planned to have him in there with her. I asked her if she told him that, and she said no. I told her to tell him he'll have no part in it. Well, she told him, and apparently he didn't like that, and he started trying to convince her why he should be there. Next thing I know, she's telling me that he really wants to be there, and she's the one giving birth, so she should be able to say who she wants there, and she wants him there. I suppose he'll start making name suggestions soon, and we'll try to overrule names we've had picked out for our future kids for years. We've talked a little bit, and she told me I can have our house and the dog in our divorce. I'm requesting that we sell the house and split the profit. I already that written in the paperwork. I'm not buying her out of our house, a house that I've made all the payments on anyway. I have a much better credit score than her and less debt. I compromised a lot because she liked this house. I'd rather be able to get my own place based just on what I want and with no reminders of her. And there was already no way she was getting the dog. I already had proof that I owned him though, so she wouldn't really stand a chance of having a court award the dog to her. It's the one thing I told my lawyer I wanted above everything else, not including any custody issues surrounding my actual human child. Honestly, her AP can have her, but he will never ever have my dog. Not to mention my dog is 100 times more loyal than my wife, and some might even say better looking too. So with the idea I won't be living here in this house for much longer after the baby is born, if everything moves quickly, I decided I will still prepare a nursery here anyway in case anyone wants to try to accuse me of not being invested/prepared for fatherhood. I'm trying to look at the positives. It doesn't matter what colors she likes or what themes. I can do whatever I want. Honestly, we've been together for so long and have lived together for most of our adult lives. It's sort of nice not living with somebody, but sort of lonely too. I have friends and family, but it's hard to feel in the mood to go out or hang out with people too often. They always ask me about everything that's going on, and it's just like I'm tired of that being the topic of conversation. I got a promotion at work, which financially would have been better had it happened after the divorce, but I'll take what I can get. I feel like I'm living in this limbo right now, and a lot of what I do is always framed around, how will this affect me in the divorce? Admittedly, I spy on them on social media sometimes. Guess I'm hoping to see he's been in a motorcycle accident or something now that the weather is nicer. Hasn't happened yet, but he's starting a new company, and once that's up and running I can always get all my friends and family to leave 1-star reviews everywhere. Have to find ways to have a little fun. Sorry that I don't respond to a lot of messages or comments. Sometimes I just take big breaks from looking at Reddit since it can be depressing AF. Editing to add something I forgot. She told her family that we've split up and that she's with this other guy now. Her sister reached out to me to say how sorry she was, her sister is a dumbass, that sort of thing. She told me that my wife was complaining about her AP. The sex is over when he's done, and apparently he's really selfish with sex. He doesn't do extra little things for her that she's used to me doing, like clearing the snow off her car in the morning and heating it up or offering to make her food after a long day. He doesn't speak her love language, and he hangs out with his friends too much. This made me so happy to hear. She's secretly miserable, and I find that absolutely delightful. Update 7. I'm still alive. I'm mainly posting here because several people have reached out to me and were concerned that I'd taken my own life. No, I'm not on the brink of ending my life. I think I'm doing better than I have since all of this started. Around the time of my last post, my story blew up and I was getting messages from people who saw it on TikTok and YouTube. I had to take a step back because it was a little overwhelming. I have over 100 unread messages here. I appreciate it, but it was a little uncomfortable at the time, and I got to the point where I didn't really want to talk about the situation with my wife and her AP anymore. So as of today, our baby is due in less than 10 weeks. We're in the home stretch now. I don't feel prepared at all. All of this other stuff has just been so distracting. I started working on a nursery. It's not done yet, but I have the floor finished and the walls painted. My ex-wife was impressed with the color scheme and furniture I chose. She's not legally my ex-wife yet, but I've started calling her that. It sort of makes it easier. I also packed up a bunch of her stuff. Originally I refused to spend my time packing up her things, but eventually just said screw it and started packing it. I'm at the point where it'll just be easier to not see all of her stuff around here. Why did I leave it for so long? She came over to get some of the boxes I packed up. She came alone. Things were fine between us. I loaded the stuff into her car. We didn't argue. At one point she started to tear up and said she fucked up. I said yes she did, but there's no point talking about it now. She shit all over our marriage. She has her muscle-bound asshole to go home to now anyway, so who cares? She said yeah I know, but it's not the same. I told her nothing has been the same since she decided to fuck him the first time. Supposedly he's going to let me be in the delivery room when my baby is born. I didn't even argue it when she said it like that, but inside I was boiling at the idea of him letting me be there for the birth of my child. She says she talked to him and he agreed it wouldn't really be right to not allow me to be there. I'm going to take what I can get if it means being there for the birth of my child. I'm going to try to just ignore him for the time being. She was acting all sweet and laying on all of the I really want you there. I really need you there stuff, and I know mentally I'm not in a place to be that cold to her when she starts acting that way. I'm trying to be indifferent more than anything else, but it's so hard when she's actually around and starts looking at me a certain way and making me feel bad. She invited me over to see the nursery they have set up at his house. I'm not sure I can bring myself to go into another man's house and look at the nursery set up for my kid. I did ask her if she was truly safe there though. I don't know why, it's just been bothering me. As pissed as I still am, I don't want to find out he's mistreating her, and I definitely don't want my kid to be going into an unsafe household. I haven't told her about anything her sister has told me. They probably won't last, but as of right now there's a very good chance my newborn baby will be going home to his house. It kills me to think about. It's almost soul-destroying to think about if I dwell on it too long. She says she's fine. He genuinely loves her. He's great with kids. He accepts that she's having a baby and that this is part of the package. She insists it's not weird because she wasn't pregnant when anything started between them. I asked her why she did it. Why did she ever let anything start between them in the first place? She said, yeah, I don't know. Then went into I don't want to talk about this mode and left pretty soon after. Typical behavior from her, just run away. Overall, I'm doing okay. I'm not sitting here depressed and drinking a bottle of scotch every night anymore. I mean on occasion, but for the most part no. I feel more used to my new normal now, and that'll all change yet again pretty soon. Update 8, I have a baby. A little girl. I'm a dad. She was born yesterday at 11:57 p.m., 2 weeks early. As he's done before, she was having some pains off and on and he left for work yesterday morning. She works from home on Mondays. She told me around 8:30 a.m. she was having contractions 17 minutes apart. The same thing happened not long ago, but then by evening all the pain stopped. I was at work, so I told her to keep me posted. A little later she said they were 15 minutes apart and she had some other signs it might be actual labor starting. I asked her if she needed somebody there with her. She said wanted me to come be with her. I didn't even mean to volunteer myself. She was scared. I didn't even ask why she didn't call him. I left work and went over to his house. Uncomfortable doesn't begin to describe it, but there were obviously more important things going on. He wasn't there. She didn't even contact him. She said she just wanted it to be me and her there. In her words, he hadn't seen her pee or shit herself yet, but I've witnessed all of that stuff already, so she was more comfortable with me there. I really tried to be as nice and supportive as possible. Set the whole thing about her affair, our marriage, everything to the side for a brief time. I don't really know what my purpose was being there, but I think she just needed somebody there so she didn't feel alone. She spent most of the time stretching and doing some sort of yoga labor routine and bouncing on this huge exercise ball. I twiddled my thumbs for the most part and looked through a bunch of his belongings. I was timing the contractions and they were consistent and slowly did get closer together, so I thought it was probably actually going to happen. It wasn't nearly far enough along to go to the hospital yet, and it was getting close to when he'd get home. I was planning how I'd handle that when she called me into the bathroom to ask her if I thought her water broke. It wasn't like in the movies with this huge gush of water. So he got home and I was there. He came into the house and the first thing he asked is, "What are you doing here?" I think he thought something else was going on. "No, you just left and went to work and left her alone when she was scared." He said he was home and he'd be with her until it was time to go to the hospital. He put his hand on my shoulder and said something like, "Thanks, bud, I got it from here and we'll call you when we're on the way to the hospital." He called me bud. I told him I wasn't his fucking buddy and to fuck off. I could tell she wanted me to leave. I'm not sure she really wanted me to leave so much as she was in labor and the tension between the two of us wasn't what she needed, and I knew that. It was his house, so what was I supposed to do? I left and prayed they'd actually call me instead of letting me know the next day that my kid had been born. She texted me a few hours later to say the doctor told her to go to the hospital. At that point I still didn't know if I was going to be waiting outside or what he'd decide was best for his apparent wife and child. I was allowed to be in the room. I didn't force my way in there. She said she wanted me to be there. He was there too. By far the single most awkward experience of my life, and the only reason I was able to excuse it was because she told me she wanted me there and I didn't want to miss the chance to be there when my kid was born and to hold my kid before he did. I can't imagine what the doctors and nurses were thinking. Fucking humiliating. Then the guy tried to police what I could see. I put the baby in there. He's fucking watching and it's like, this is still my wife and that's my baby. I chose to stay dignified and I ignored him the entire time. I was there to do whatever she told me to do and my focus wasn't on him, but in any other setting I don't think I would have been able to hold back. The baby came flying out. I mean, as far as labor goes. These are the nurses' words and I trust labor and delivery nurses to know what they're talking about. Cheater very bad because the baby came out so fast. The baby is so tiny, barely 6 pounds and only 18 inches, but perfectly healthy. I went home for a short rest, although I really couldn't rest at all. I went back today and of course he was there. Surprisingly, he said he was going to give us some time alone with the baby. Not sure if she had previously asked him to do that when I showed up or not, didn't ask. He even brought us all food back when he returned a few hours later. I wondered if mine might be poisoned, but I tried to be nice. He's still not gone, so I'm wondering how long he'll be around. I just can't let myself do anything that will make her try to keep me away from my daughter now. I don't want them making it difficult for me. I'd prefer not to share her name publicly, but I can confirm it's the name we chose for a daughter years ago. He had no say and he hasn't said anything about the name at all. It kills me to see him holding her though. I eventually left because it was just too much sitting there pretending to be like some bizarre Three's Company. I'll know I will get my time with her when he's not around. He's already posting them on his social media. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to figure it out. I just have to find a way to be the bigger person because I won't let him or their relationship discourage me from being my daughter's dad. I totally get doing anything for your kids now, and if it means having to pretend to get along with him, I will. Update 9. Many people have asked for an update on my situation, but I've been pretty busy. There's the baby, plus a week of completely unrelated but never-ending annoying problems. Remember that book Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day? That's the week I've been having, but I'm not even going to get into it beyond saying I can't even stay at my own house right now due to a giant hole in the wall. I've been dealing with insurance and contractors all day, and they hit a water pipe. I'm still on paternity leave and continue to regularly spend time with my daughter. We have a set schedule for when my daughter comes to stay with me, so I've been spending less time over at his house. Sometimes my wife needs help during the day though, or just to be able to take a shower or a nap, so I will stop over to help her. Really, I just want to take advantage of any opportunity one can to spend time with her, my baby, and bond with her. Plus, breastfeeding isn't working out very well. She's still not producing enough milk and I know she's upset about it, but it sort of makes things easier for me. At least she has help when the baby is with her, supposedly he helps, gets up at night, etc. I'm on my own, and I won't lie and say it's a walk in the park, but I think I'm getting the hang of it. The other day she called me and asked me to come over. She said she was on the verge of a mental breakdown. I've heard that line from her many times, when she was cheated on me without my knowledge, and it was usually mostly related to her job. I got over there and she was saying she can't handle being a mom, she can't handle life, she can't function. She was crying. This time she couldn't run off to the gym. She would if she could, but she's not really allowed to exercise yet. She won't talk to anyone, won't seek professional help. Some days she seems much better than others. She's just an easily overwhelmed person. Everything overwhelms her. Sometimes we have, dare I say, a good time together. The most she can really go as far as physical activity right now is walk. We took the baby in her longest walk yet and walked from his house to my house. Everything was fine in the walk. She was in a good mood. We were joking around. Then she turned really sad after being at my house / our former shared house after a little while. She finally admitted that this isn't how it's supposed to be, raising our daughter between two homes. She said my home is our daughter's real home and she's only supposed to have one home. Then she started sobbing about not having a home anymore. My house isn't her home and her boyfriend Gumbro's house isn't her home and she's essentially homeless and doesn't belong anywhere. She admitted she fucked up really badly and she doesn't want to share custody or to only see her daughter half the time. She just wants to come home, but she loves him and she thinks he loves her and our daughter and she doesn't want to hurt him after he's done all this before her. I said, so what? What she wants for her kid should be more important than his feelings. If he can't get over the fact that the married, pregnant woman who he was sleeping with wants her kid to grow up in a single home with her actual father, he can fuck off. He can fuck off anyway. If she can't tell him and wants me to tell him, I will. She doesn't think she can tell him. I told her this is her biggest issue: communication and honesty. Just tell people the truth and stop being a pussy about ever telling anyone the truth about how you really feel. Thing is, I've been tolerating him lately. Don't like him, but tolerate him. I'm not hanging out with him. Ever. I know it sounds crazy coming from me, but I think he's genuinely in this. Still shouldn't have been fucking my wife. Doesn't absolve him of any of his involvement. He's back to being cloyingly nice to me. Suggesting we hang out, try to be friends. He's so fucking happy all the time. It's a little unsettling, but I think he's just one of those people and maybe that's what she likes about him. I'm not one of those people, never will be. So anyway, she and I sort of got into an argument, started as a discussion, turned into an argument, then morphed back to a discussion, all about everything we don't like about each other and our relationship. In the end, we were both able to say what we need from the other person. She's just too overwhelmed right now and can't make any changes. She can't handle trying to change right now. It gives her too much anxiety. So I don't know. We're sort of at an impasse right now. Then this stuff with the house, I've just been extra stressed and not really all that pleasant to deal with. Update 10, this month continues to be the strangest I've ever experienced. The repairs to my house were made and I'm back home thankfully. I can only take a few nights under my parents' roof. I slept with somebody else. We went out on a date. I think we both just wanted to have sex to say we'd finally gotten over our former spouses. She's the ex-wife of a friend of mine. She and I are actually closer / better friends now than her ex-husband and I. Several people have suggested that we start dating each other. We get along great and we are on the surface a really good match, but it was too fucking weird for both of us. She's very attractive, very social and fun to be around, and has been incredibly kind to me during this whole ordeal, but I can't see her as more than a friend. I had been intentionally avoiding sleeping with anyone else. I hadn't been with anyone since the last time I slept with my wife. That feels like an eternity ago. For the longest time I wasn't interested in being with other women. Then, it sort of morphed into my way of feeling morally superior to her. I was going to hold out and not pursue anything until after we were divorced. It's pretty pointless and childish. Just a dumb way to make myself feel better and to be able to say I never cheated. I still don't feel like I cheated, there is no marriage anymore. Within hours of this happening, I started getting texts from my wife saying she decided she wants to come home. It's like she had some sort of with sense. She was saying she was ready, would I come help her? I called her and told her I don't want her to come home and to be in a relationship again. She doesn't get to just decide that's what's going to happen. She then started to say, "Oh, I know, I just meant move back in." I told her I didn't really believe her and felt like she was just jerking me around again. She said she thought our conversation the other day had gone so well and that she thought we seemed to be at a place where we could really work on fixing everything, but until then she could live in another room. She said she was completely serious about it and she wants our daughter to be in one home. I feel so mixed about everything, but ultimately I want my daughter living in my house 24/7 and I don't want another man helping to raise her, so I took the bait. Today I showed up at his house to help her move some things, but I anticipated I'd get there and she'd either have changed her mind or she wouldn't have been planning to leave at all and was only waiting to see me do some more tricks for her. They were arguing when I got there. The baby was crying, she was crying and running around packing things in bags, and he was following behind her begging her to stay, offering to do anything to make her stay. He accused me of this being my idea. Maybe it was ick. I don't really care what he thinks. It was obvious she had just sprung this news on him shortly before I got there. She was telling her over and over that she just wants her child raised in one home and that his home wasn't really their home, and she was sorry she was doing this to him after everything he'd done, but she just has to give our daughter one home with her real father. We got back over to my house and she's obviously an emotional mess. I have no room prepared for her. Not 15 minutes later he shows up at the front door. She didn't want to talk to him. He wouldn't give up and eventually he was there on the front porch loudly saying things like, "That's not what you were saying when you were blowing me last night." So at that point, after I'm sure our neighbors had been enjoying this embarrassing scene long enough, I told him if he didn't leave I'd call the cops. I went out there and tried to calm him down. I mean, I had to sympathize with him. She runs away, that's what she does. I may have said a few other things in my own favor and to make him realize he doesn't want to be involved in this mess that is my wife. I don't think he'll give up so easily. It sounds terrible, but once she was at my house I sort of found myself wishing she'd leave with him. I know I'd had wanted her to come home, and I tell myself it was mostly due to the baby, but now I'm wondering what the hell I've gotten myself into. She said, "Hey, I didn't really blow him last night. I haven't done anything with him since she was born. I've only been thinking about you." I told her, "Yeah right, you expect me to believe it? Even if it's true, what on earth makes you think I'd ever believe anything that you say?" Then out of spite I told her I slept with somebody else. I know I only told her to hurt her and I feel bad about it now. She immediately demanded to know who. I told her it wasn't her business. She claims it is her business because we're still married. Nope, I'm not sharing. So now we're awkwardly existing. I don't have much faith that she's going to stay here. I think she'll be back at his place within the week. I've told her that he's not allowed over here. He has no business being here. And if we're raising our daughter in the same house, together, then she can't just run off to his house to be with him whenever she feels like it. It won't work that way. She says she knows, and she wants me to want to be with her again, and she'll prove to me she can be a good partner. She tried to kiss me and I rejected her. She's upset. She's taking a nap now. I feel like I've dug myself into a very deep hole now. Update 11. I don't really have an update, but I'm mainly making this post because I've received a ton of comments on my previous post and it's gotten too big to really follow anymore. When I get a notification that somebody has responded to my post or comment, I click on it and it should take me directly to the person's comment, but it doesn't. So I have to scroll through all of the comments to find the one I want to respond to. I don't have time to scroll through 800 comments. I don't respond to some comments by choice. I get it, many people think I'm a doormat and need to grow a spine. What can I really say? We can trade places and you can tell me how easy it is to navigate this and then we'll talk. I did plan to divorce her. The papers are ready. I admit that I have stalled in having her served. I can't put into words why. The lawyer wanted to do it back in July 29th and I told him I needed more time. I'm kind of embarrassed by my hesitation. But this is my life and it's very easy for completely uninvolved bystanders to advocate for divorce and all sorts of unrealistic things like getting sole custody of my daughter. If I needed to take on sole custody, you bet I would. My wife isn't crazy. I get that you all have a very bad perception of her. I've created that perception. Well, I didn't create that image, I've simply shared the truth about her actions, so she's created that image. That's all anyone reading my posts knows about her, nothing good. She does have some good qualities, and believe me, I didn't want to let myself remember or acknowledge any of them for a long time. She's done horrible things, hurtful things, incredibly selfish things. She is an emotional person. She's a highly stressed, anxious person who tends to live on by the whims of her emotions. I'm not saying it's not tiring and frustrating at times or even most of the time, but I'm telling you that she's not crazy. She's not an immediate danger to the safety of our baby. She's not doing anything that's going to make a court give me full custody. Do I think she's in the best possible place to raise a whole human being? No. I mean, either am I, but she has a lot of work to do, and I know that. We weren't planning to have a baby when she got pregnant. I would not have purposely conceived a baby at that time because she was sort of already a mess prior to finding out she was pregnant. But there's a difference between that and being legitimately unstable to the point of not being able to tend to the basic needs of her child. She's doing that. She actually seems less of a mess and less anxious than she was a year ago this time, when she was having her weekly meltdowns. She also owns our home along with me. Sure, I've always paid the mortgage, but the courts don't really care who's been paying the mortgage when the house is in both of our names. I can't just kick her out. We had planned to sell the house and split the proceeds. Honestly, it seemed like the easiest and quickest solution. Houses are selling very fast around here and we'd make a profit. It stinks to have to split the profits, but it wasn't a hill I wanted to die on. I think it's ultimately best for my child to have her mother involved in her life and to develop a bond with her mom, regardless of where her mom ends up living or what the relationship between the two of us is like. I also think the safety and well-being of my child's mother is important for my child. She needs a place to live. I'll admit that I've enjoyed some of the moments of normalcy we've had. It's okay if you want to say I'm rug sweeping. I'm just so fucking tired. I'm tired of being angry, tired of being sad, tired of all the drama. So to have a few days where life feels like it used to when my life was much less complicated, and to just sit around doing mundane things together without necessarily thinking about this big master plan, divorce, reconciliation, custody, etc. feels sort of good. I feel like I can catch my breath for a second. If you want to call me spineless because I'm enjoying finally having those moments that I always dreamed we'd have together with our first child, so be it. There are still moments and feel annoyed. I kind of liked living in my own. I got used to it, or I thought I had. Sometimes it feels like she's invading my space, but I'm handling it the best that I can. There are still things I love about her. There are some things I now hate about her. I hate things that she did. I guess I love who she used to be, but sometimes she shows glimpses of that person and I miss her. I admit that I really do miss that person I fell in love with. We've been together since I was 22, she was 20. Most of our adult lives. We moved in together after only a few months. We've experienced most adult things together, good and bad. We lived in a few shithole apartments together, moved across the country together, bought and sold and then bought a house together, traveled to many places and had great adventures and made some good memories, survived COVID and the horrible DIY haircuts we gave each other, weathered job losses, car accidents, health scares, had some horrible fights, had some great make-up sex, dealt with a few pregnancy scares. Basically grew up together. Well, she didn't grow up. She has a very hard time adulting. We used to be like best friends, always together. She still has a hold on me in some ways, and what's the use in trying to deny it? Update 12, thanks to everyone who's reached out to check on me. I've had a lot going on, new baby obviously being the most obvious thing, but life has truly been a when it rains it pours a situation lately. Ultimately, I'm fine. I filed for divorce. She's been served. It wasn't because of anything new she did that I haven't already shared here. I was thinking about it practically every other second for about 2 weeks and ultimately decided I couldn't live like that anymore, constantly thinking about it and wondering if I should do it. So I pulled the band-aid off and told the lawyer to move forward. The paperwork had already been completed and was just waiting for me to say go. I feel relieved. I think I was feeling more stressed just constantly weighing what I should and shouldn't do. Now that I made a decision, I feel better. The more we're together here at home, the more I realize this isn't what I want and that I can't be with her in any sort of romantic, committed way again. I hope that we can be friends and not just co-parents who only communicate about our kid when necessary. I'm actually enjoying being around her now for the most part. I'm enjoying doing platonic things together. But the thought of anything beyond that isn't appealing to me. I love her as the person I used to be, married to her, and I love and respect her as the mother of my children, but I don't love her in the same way I used to, and I don't think I can ever get over everything she's done. I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm filled with resentment and mistrust for the rest of my life. Plus, the longer she was here, the more reminders I got of the other issues in our relationship that I guess I was able to sort of brush aside before her affair came to light. I had to really weigh staying together and trying counseling and therapy, if she'd agree to it, which she has never done, to try to have those feelings for her again and keep our family under one roof versus splitting time with my child, seeing her only part of the time, and almost certainly having another man/father figure in my daughter's life, if not the AP then somebody else. It really dawned on me after she had her 6-week postnatal checkup and she was cleared for sex. She wanted us to have sex? I didn't want to at all. She was upset, hurt. She still has no idea how deeply she hurt me. Prior to that, her affair partner made another appearance at our house. This time he was calm. He asked her to talk and she told me she had to talk to him, but asked me not to leave the house. So I went in another room and yes, I listened to their entire conversation. The gist basically was he wanted her back and he loves her. She told him he's a great guy but they never should have been together, she needs to be with her family, me and our daughter, and that she was sorry for getting him so involved in this mess. If it wasn't for me and our daughter she'd be with him, but she has to choose us. She is still living here. We got into a huge argument last night. She threw water all over me. She got in her car and left, in just a t-shirt and underwear, no shoes. Same old behavior, just running away. I knew then that I made the right decision. Of course, me divorcing her doesn't change her behavior. She will act like this with anyone she's with most likely. And in those cases I won't be there to try to shield my daughter from it and remove her from the situation. Last night I had to tell my wife to calm down for the sake of our daughter, to not behave that way around her. I know that children are still affected by this stuff even if not direct witnesses. The idea of just not being there and not knowing who she might get involved with next terrifies me. So she's living here for now. I'm fine with that. Most days aren't like yesterday. Right now, she's sitting in the same room as me working on something and everything is peaceful. I can't make her leave anyway since it's her house too, legally. Today she was calmer and it was an okay day. For the most part we have a good routine down with caring for our daughter. This arrangement won't last forever, but I'm in no rush for her to leave. Ultimately, I'd prefer to sell the house and split the proceeds. This is what I've put in the paperwork I filed. However, we can come to an agreed upon date by which to list the house, and it doesn't have to be next week or even next month. I've already started looking at new places to live, but I don't feel the need to rush it. I'm tired of just having so much going on, so much in my plate to think about and worry about. I'd just like to relax for a damn second. The stress I've been feeling, my blood pressure is probably through the roof. Update 13, my wife has found my posts. She's commented on my most recent post and I've deleted her comments and blocked her. She's also made a post on True Off My Chest. Thanks to everyone who messaged me to alert me to if. She had already confronted me about it in real life. I think she was disappointed that I didn't engage with her here, so she came up to me and told me to fuck myself and started yelling, "Who does that?" over and over in my face. She is also posting lies about me, including stories about me raping her, punching holes in the walls of our home, having a drinking problem and physically abusing her. None of that is true. She's spent this weekend begging me to reconsider the divorce and trying to convince me in any way that she can. I haven't budged. I've started to sort of ignore her. She can't stand to be ignored. So now she is here posting lies and multiple people are messaging me to ask if any of it is true. I've never physically hurt my wife, punched holes in walls, or had a drinking problem. While I was drinking more than normal in the immediate fallout after I discovered her affair and she moved in with her affair partner, I did not have a problem and I wasn't abusive. If she wants to accuse me of these things, she can accuse me in court and they can investigate. They'll find no evidence of patched walls or anyone in my life who could ever attest to me being an alcoholic. She has an obsession with this idea of me being an alcoholic, which stems from a history of that sort of problem in our household growing up. She routinely would come home from work and accuse me of drinking and tear our house apart looking for the supposed hidden alcohol I had stashed. Guess what? She never found anything. She even bought a breathalyzer and tried to force me to blow into it multiple times a day. This is trauma she has. I was not a perfect husband. I could have done many things better or differently. We did argue. I did yell sometimes. I was also away from home for long periods of time when she needed me and I didn't take it seriously. I may be accused of being callous or cold at times and she probably wouldn't be wrong about that. But the things she's saying on here are not true whatsoever. Please do not engage with her here. Update 14, many people have contacted me to make sure I'm okay. I'm fine, the baby's fine, and even my wife is fine. I mean, fine is relative. What I mean is that we're all safe and alive, despite the posts my wife keeps making. She's moved back in with her affair partner. I came home from work and all her stuff was gone. He finally decided to take her back. He wasn't going to initially, and he was trying to convince her to let him help her find an apartment, but she can't be on her own. She's told him that I'm an abusive drunk, so I think he felt he had no choice but to save her from me. Hey, the one good thing about it is that he's no longer acting all buddy-buddy trying to be my friend. I'm sure they're now reading anything new I post here, but there's really nothing I'm going to say that they can use against me. It's all really depressing and sometimes you just have to laugh at it all to keep from crying. There's nothing much to share right now, but I'm sure at some point in the future I'll be able to share a lot more. Update 15. My STBXW has now taken our daughter back home to where her family lives. Her family came out here to meet the baby for the first time. This had already been planned when we were still living together. Honestly, was pretty relieved that they would no longer be staying with me/us. Since moving back in with Gumbo, she was making it really hard for me to see my daughter. Not being present at agreed upon times to exchange her, stuff like that. He was also done with the nice guy act. She's told him all sorts of lies, similar to what she's been posting here on Reddit. Things about me abusing her, raping her, and so on. I have no doubt that she's also told her families these things. She posted that she knew I'd be a good dad, yet supposedly I was abusive and raped her? Those things don't go together. They came out to visit and I didn't see them at all. Her excuse for trying to prevent me to see my daughter at that time was that her family was here to spend time with them and I should allow them to have the full time since it was going to be so short. Sorry, I still deserve to see my kid regardless of her relatives being in town. She made the mistake of posting something on social media that somebody we both know saw. I can't see her socials anymore. I immediately informed my lawyer. We have a pending custody case right now and this is illegal for her to take our child out of the state with the judge's permission, which she doesn't have. She was supposed to have returned to work by now, but apparently she's not planning to go back. I contacted her and she insisted she just went home to visit and to get some peace of mind. She swears it was just a visit. Either way, my lawyer filed an emergency custody order, more to signify to the court that I am not okay with this. So, she is literally flying back here as we speak, or she's supposed to be, but not before telling me how much she hates me and to fuck myself several times. She knew that while our divorce and custody proceedings are underway, she wasn't allowed to leave the state with the baby. Neither of us are. I honestly can't believe she was that stupid, even after everything else she's done. At the end of the day, it's just going to make her look bad, but her behavior is really just becoming more and more worrisome. I'm going to be dealing with this forever. People say 18 years, but it doesn't end at 18. It's exhausting just thinking about dealing with this forever. Update 16, just feeling like hoping on here and doing some venting. It's been about 3 months since I filed for divorce. We're nearing the finish line, but to nobody's surprise she's contested a number of things, tried to convince the court of the supposedly alcohol problem I have, which she's completely fabricated. I even told them that I'll agree to breathalyzers or whatever they want me to do to prove I have absolutely no issues with alcohol. We have a temporary custody order in place. I say order because it's an order from the court and not something I agreed to. The court wanted us to work with a mediator. I tried, but my ex-wife would barely compromise at all. So, it's like 60-40 right now, with her having the 69%. It's actually more than that because there are stretches of time where I'm away for work. Like, I was just gone for 2 weeks. So she ends up getting even more time. That was also a factor in the court giving her 60%, because I'm not available to solely parent my child for 50%, according to them. I'm just so pissed off about it. She's still living with her gym boyfriend. She has him totally convinced that I was an abusive drunk who raped her, hurt her, and did all of these things that I'd never do. I can admit to the things I did wrong or should have done differently. I never did those things and it really hurts that she'd tell everyone that I did. I was hurt in that way as a child and I'd never do that to somebody ever. I feel like she knows how triggering the mention of that is to me, which is why she specifically has chosen to say that I raped her. This guy acts like he's my kid's dad and he's just sick handing her off to me. He told me I better enjoy the time I have now because when he's done with me it'll be supervised visits only. Of course that was a threat and I took it straight to my lawyer. She has several strikes against her in the eyes of the court. Now the big issue is the holidays. I think I've accepted that things are never going to look like I always envisioned. I might not get to spend every holiday with my child, and even those holidays where I do see her, it'll probably only be part of the time. Holidays are pretty big in my family, so this is a sore spot for me, but I think I've accepted that it'll at least not ever look like I imagined. Of course she wants to have Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. She wants to fly home to her family, but that isn't allowed. I won't agree to it. I've even proposed that I can have our daughter for the first part of Christmas Eve, then she can spend the time with the two toadstools and have Christmas morning with them, then I get her for second half of Christmas. Like, I'm willing to give up my kid's first Christmas morning. I know she's an infant and will have no clue what's going on, but a first Christmas is special. That's not good enough for my ex-wife. Thanksgiving I get a half day. My ex-wife doesn't even like Thanksgiving. She's enjoying hurting me. She's doing these things for no reason but to hurt me. I don't understand why we can't just be amicable. If anyone should be trying to get vengeance with the divorce outcome, it's me, but I just want to be done, and I don't understand deaths why she has to be like this. But I also feel like I've compromised as much as I'm willing to compromise. Like, we can sell the house and split the proceeds even though I paid for the house. I will take in some of her debts that she incurred during marriage. I'll do a lot just so he's done with this, but it's not enough. It's hard to imagine how much time I wasted with her in that relationship. Update 17, Christmas came early. I'm free. I'm officially divorced. Not quite 4 months after officially filing and serving her, our dissolution had been granted by the court. Of course, I'm not truly free as I'll have to deal with her for a very long time. And for now, dealing with him indefinitely as well. I don't see this being the end of legal disputes and court hearing for us, unfortunately. I hope that now that it's officially over and there's nothing left to fight against, she'll stop trying to find ways to hurt me or get back at me for some perceived wrong that I've done. She's still mad and bitter about things now, but as time goes on maybe she can also move on. She's still very much in defensive mode. And guess what? She got pregnant again. Or so she says. Definitely not by me this time. They claim she was pregnant and had a miscarriage due to all of the stress I've caused. All I know is that I probably dodged another legal mess, since we were still legally married at the time. The custody arrangement sucks. We have shared legal custody, but she has primary physical custody. She's not working anymore, so she's a som apparently, being supported by her boyfriend, and I have a job where I sometimes have to travel. Plus, her tears and handwritten letters about how horrible I am probably hurt my case. She can be very convincing. So, I get my daughter every other weekend from Friday through Sunday, and 2 nights a week every week, Tuesday and Thursday, for 2 hours each night. This is not something I agreed to. The court ordered mediation, which we did, and we could not come to an agreement. So, I got screwed when the court had to step in and make the decision for us. We also have assigned holidays for the entire year. I get Christmas Eve, but not spending the night and the day after Christmas, and she gets Christmas Day. So, essentially Christmas is just like our normal schedule. If it were me who had Christmas, I would have tried to be nice and at least let my child's mother see her for some time on Christmas Day. This is her very first Christmas and she won't let me see her. She's just doing it to hurt me. She's not keeping our daughter's best interest at the forefront. I don't plan to accept this arrangement long term, and I can share that here even if she's reading because I've already made her and the court aware that I don't agree with it. I'm happy that the divorce is final, but I have to admit there's still a part of me that's mad, sad, disappointed, mixed feelings I guess about what's happened. I wish it didn't turn out this way. I think the holidays don't help at all, just makes you feel depressed. Update 18, the tides might be changing with my ex-wife and her boyfriend. He's her affair partner. Her idiot gym rat accomplish. But I know I need to try to form better habits for my daughter's sake. One thing I'm committed to is not bad-mouthing her mom and possibly this dude in front of my daughter, no matter how I feel. That's the one consistent piece of advice almost everyone who grew up in a divorced family has given me. She has no clue what words mean now, but I had developed a habit of always using choice words when referring to both of them, and I still slip sometimes, but I'm trying. Things might not be completely changing course, but I have hope that co-parenting with them might not be a total living hell for the rest of my life. As you know if you've been following my story, I was pretty bitter over the custody arrangement over the holidays. Well, the holidays came and went by really fast and I was thankful to get them over with. Last Thursday I went to pick my daughter up for my whopping 2 hours with her that evening. Even if it's only 2 hours, I'm always going to take the 2 hours. That's when my ex-wife said she had to tell me something and immediately started crying. Her boyfriend wasn't there. Normally he's not home yet when I go to pick up my daughter on my way home from work. She told me that our daughter had been in the hospital the night before. WTF? Why didn't anyone contact me? She said it ended up not being anything serious. Our daughter's arm was out of its socket, but they didn't know that when they took her in. You know, it gets really repetitive saying my daughter every other sentence, so I'll refer to her by her initial M. So my ex says Em had been fine for the first half of the day on Wednesday, but then after she woke up from a nap she was crying, screaming even, wouldn't eat, and nothing was soothing her. She didn't have a temperature. My ex couldn't figure out what was wrong and thought maybe she's constipated. She's been having issues with that. She thought maybe her clothes were too tight and she changed her. This went on for hours, and then when he got home and Em continued to scream, he said that wasn't her normal cry. He then checked her all over and realized something was wrong with her arm, so they went to the ER and thankfully it was an easy fix. So my ex-wife was crying telling me this. She's such a horrible mom. She probably pulled the arm out of socket and didn't know it. She didn't notice anything was wrong with her arm, and so on. She just thought she was being cranky for a non-serious reason and felt guilty that he figured it out right away, and she, the kid's own mother, couldn't figure it out. She kept apologizing to me, saying she was so sorry she didn't know and she's so sorry she hurt him. She didn't mean to, she doesn't know how or when it happened, but she's convinced herself she did it. I was pissed that I wasn't informed when she was the hospital and before they had any idea what was wrong with her. I told her from now on she's to inform me right away if Em is ever rushed to the ER. I'd inform her, no matter what was going on between us. She apologized and said she knows she should have told me sooner. We hugged. I didn't even think about it, but we hugged, and it was only after it happened that I realized, hey, we hugged and it was totally not weird. Then, this weekend I had one of the most surreal experiences that I wasn't expecting. It wasn't my weekend to have Em. I have her every other weekend from Friday through Sunday. I was at the store and I ran into the boyfriend and he had Em with him. My ex-wife wasn't there. I had never imagined this scenario and I didn't realize it's hit me like such a gut punch, but it did. I guess because anyone else would think that's a father with his daughter, but that's my daughter, not his. It was just so out of body almost to see him out in public, alone with my child. I realized then, well, he's with her more often than I am. Who knows where he takes her? Probably not the first time he's taken her out somewhere without my ex present. And what killed me was it just looked completely normal, him doing all the dad things, the baby gear, the baby bag, his interactions with her. It really hurt. I felt like a stranger looking at somebody else with their kid. As much as I didn't want to, I acknowledged his presence. I really just wanted to see my kid, and maybe do some sort of silly macho demonstrative gesture to make sure anyone in earshot knew I made that kid and she's mine, not his. Embarrassing, I know. But I ended up thanking him for recognizing that something wasn't right with Em and for taking her to the hospital. He actually apologized for not contacting me and said they just didn't want to worry me until they knew if there was anything to worry about. Then he said he was sorry about a lot of this stuff and he doesn't know what all to believe about some of the things she says, but he doesn't think I'm really that bad. He knows I love him and that I was right about the fact that they should have contacted me right away. I think he was trying to be genuine, even though I still just see this shit-eating grin and like this expert salesman speaking to me whenever he talks. I may have gone out to my car, punched the dashboard, and yelled a few expletives afterwards, but I'm a work in progress. As for Em, other than her poor little arm, she's amazing. She sits all on her own now. She gets into a crawling position but just rocks back and forth so far. I'm competitive and am hoping she'll crawl for me first. I hope to see all of her milestones first, and yeah, I'll probably be keeping a tally. She has a personality now. I've always thought she had a personality, but she really interacts with you now. She laughs, she's as curious about everything. She speaks a ton of gibberish and loves making noises, and when people make silly noises for her, probably her favorite thing right now. Too young for real words, but I feel like she knows what she's trying to say. I'm just sort of taking the advice to work on myself right now and not let my ex-wife and everything that's happened over the past 1.5 years to consume me. A lot of people have suggested I start dating again, but I need a breather. My ex hasn't turned me off women. I don't think every one woman is going to turn out to be a liar and a cheat. It's not that I don't want to be with anyone. I just don't want anything serious right now, but at the same time I also don't really feel like joining up with random women. I'm not necessarily against that, I just don't think it's what I need to focus on right now. I've had opportunities and just not been into it. I think it's true that a man with a baby does get special attention from women. One woman at work was relentless. She was making me food, buying gifts for my daughter, offering to babysit. I've always thought she was attractive but not really somebody I was ever going to pursue. She's definitely hot but not really my type. A bunch of people from work went out one night and she started trying to hold my hand, rub me, just totally weird. In all honesty, I considered sleeping with her solely to sleep with her and it'd be easy, but decided against it. I don't think she was looking for just sex, and at this point I think that's all I'd want in all honesty. The idea of sleeping with women and having no further obligation to them, just for now until I'm ready for an actual relationship again, is appealing. But on the other hand, now that I have a daughter, I have a much harder time rationalizing doing that. Edit, please excuse the plethora of typos. I've already fixed about 20, but I'm sure there are more. I typed this up real fast while at work, so there are a lot of autocorrect mistakes. Final update, it's been a while since I updated, and I continue to receive almost daily messages of concern regarding my daughter's shoulder and what my wife and/or her boyfriend might have done to cause it. I appreciate the concern genuinely. It's probably time that I share an update because I feel bad that there are people praying for me and supposedly doing magic spells for me and my daughter. Some of this I shared as updates and comments on my previous post, but they seem to have been buried. I submitted a request to the hospital for my daughter's EM records related to her ER visit for her shoulder. I've received the records. There's nothing I could find that my ex-wife was hiding, but I like the idea of having a physical hard copy of the records. Now anyway, 2 x-rays were done at that time. It was a partial subluxation, which means a partial dislocation. The actual doctor notes indicate a minor subluxation. I googled it and found that sometimes the shoulder can appear fairly normal to the eye without very obvious signs, so maybe that's why she missed it. I've also confirmed this with a pediatric orthopedic specialist. Usually range of motion will be affected, which is noticeable, but with a 6-month baby who has jerky arm movements, it could be missed at first glance. Her arm wouldn't necessarily have been hanging there. My ex-wife and I attended the follow-up appointment with the orthopedic specialist, who ordered an MRI. We've since had another appointment with him. He officially diagnosed her with glenoid dysplasia or hypoplasia. The glenoid cavity is where the shoulder sits. Her glenoid cavity is smaller than normal. I'd never heard of it. It's commonly associated with shoulder injuries during birth, but there were no obvious injuries during birth. It's nothing serious in the sense that it's not like a life-threatening condition, but this could be something she deals with for the rest of her life. Sometimes it spontaneously resolves, but usually treatment of some sort is needed. The doctor told us it can actually go years without even being diagnosed, so we're sort of lucky this happened so she can get early treatment, which may lessen her chance of needing surgery later. For now, she'll receive physical therapy to strengthen and stabilize her shoulder plus a special shoulder brace. Shoulder instability is a very common symptom of this condition, meaning dislocation happens much easier than with the typical shoulder. We have to be extremely careful with her shoulder since there's a high chance it will happen again. The orthopedist thinks the most likely scenario is that her arm popped out when my ex-wife was changing her clothes and took the onesie up over her head. She wasn't crying before that, took a normal nap, and then started screaming right after that. I have no way to really know what happened to cause the arm to pop out of place, but I have a pretty good feeling she's telling the truth. She said she didn't think the screaming had anything to do with M's shoulders because she hadn't done anything that would have popped a normal shoulder out of socket, and that wasn't even something that entered her arm. Of course there are still issues with what my ex did from that point forward, but it's now been officially documented that we are both to inform the other of any medical care immediately, not after the fact. On a positive note, M is growing more every day. She can sit up by herself, is crawling just a bit but still seems unsure about it, and even practices holding a spoon and feeding herself, that one's still pretty uncoordinated and messy. Her personality is starting to shine through in her expressions. It's almost harder sharing her now. The more she becomes like a real person and not just a baby that sleeps, eats, and poops, the more it feels like I'm missing out when I'm not with her, the more I feel like I'm the third wheel. When she's with them, it's like they're a family, and I know damn well he probably never corrects anyone who assumes he's her father. And she's with them more too. I feel like the extra parent. I know people sometimes say things like the more people who love her, the better. Some people have said that to me to try to make me feel better about the whole thing. In full honesty, it might hurt me less if he wasn't involved with her at all and just left my ex to do it all. I've had no issues with him the past several months, and honestly sometimes I prefer a brief interaction with him than having to even talk to my ex-wife during exchanges. I don't even really feel anger towards him like I once did, mainly just towards my ex-wife. I think my anger towards her has increased, almost a delayed anger that's now finally hitting. I'm thankful for the parenting app and her notebook so that I don't really have to interact with her much at all otherwise.